Listen, we're sitting at 1-4 right now, and yeah, everyone's frustrated, but can we just acknowledge the elephant in the room for a second? Because what Jerry Jeudy said today about the Browns quarterback situation, about that whole 4-quarterback circus with Cam, Flacco, and Pickett getting reps when they're not even on the roster anymore, that wasn't just another post-game quote. That was a grenade with the pin already pulled. I won't say a waste of time. You know, I don't know what that was. That's what Jeudy said when asked if all those reps were pointless. Just stop and think about that answer for a minute. I don't know what that was. Not defending the decision, not backing the coaching staff. Just straight up confusion mixed with what sounds like barely contained frustration. When your star wide receiver can't even put words to what the team was doing with its quarterback room, you've got problems that run way deeper than the win-loss column. And here's where this gets interesting, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. Right now, sitting on that same roster, you've got Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, that Shedeur Sanders, son of primetime, but more than that, a dude who's been turning heads since he stepped on a college field. The kid who transferred to Colorado and helped transform a program overnight. The quarterback who doesn't just play football, he performs it. Every snap, every interview, every social media post, it's all part of this bigger presence that Kevin Stefanski apparently wants nothing to do with. Think about the optics here for a second. You've got a coaching staff that spent training camp rotating through quarterbacks like they were trying on shoes at a department store. Flacco got reps. Pickett got reps. The whole world watched Cleveland treat their quarterback room like some kind of experimental laboratory. And now both those guys are gone, shipped off to other teams, and the whole exercise looks like exactly what Jerry Jeudy couldn't bring himself to call it. A complete waste of everyone's time. Meanwhile, Shedeur's sitting there as the emergency quarterback, the QB3, watching all this unfold. You think he doesn't notice? You think the rest of that locker room doesn't see what's happening? When Jerry Jeudy says he doesn't know what that quarterback plan was, he's speaking for every player in that building who's watched this coaching staff make decision after decision that just doesn't add up. The thing about Stefanski is he's built this entire reputation on being the smart guy in the room. The offensive genius who came from the McVay-Shanahan coaching tree. The play caller who's supposed to see chess moves 3 steps ahead. But right now, watching how he's handled this quarterback situation, it looks less like chess and more like he's playing checkers while the rest of the NFL has moved on to 4D chess. Because let's talk about what's really happening here. Joe Flacco gets traded to Cincinnati yesterday, and suddenly the depth chart shifts. Shedeur moves up a spot by default. Simple math, right? Wrong. Instead of acknowledging this basic reality, instead of even mentioning Shedeur's name in press conferences, Stefanski acts like the kid doesn't exist. He's talking about being confident in his guys, about sticking with Dillon Gabriel no matter what, about how they just need to execute better. All the standard coach speak that means absolutely nothing when your team is getting demolished 23-9 by the Steelers. 52 pass attempts for Dillon Gabriel in that game. 6 sacks. Averaging 4 yards per completion, the offensive line looking like turnstiles, the run game completely abandoned, and after all that, Stefanski stands at the podium talking about how Gabriel is tough, how he's confident in him, how they're going to ride or die with their guy. That's not loyalty at that point. That's stubbornness masquerading as leadership. You want to know what Jerry Jeudy really meant when he said he doesn't know what that was? He meant he's tired of being the meat shield, tired of standing at his locker answering questions about coaching decisions he didn't make and doesn't agree with. That's what happens when you're a veteran player watching your coaches make moves that don't line up with winning football. You get frustrated, you get honest, and sometimes when a reporter asks the right question, you let a little bit of that truth slip out. The beautiful thing about Jeudy's answer is what he didn't say. He didn't trash the coaching staff directly, didn't call anyone out by name, didn't violate any unwritten rules about keeping things in-house. He just gave the most honest answer possible, which is sometimes more damning than any direct criticism. I don't know what that was. Tells you everything about how the players view this quarterback rotation experiment. They watched it happen, they lived through it, and at the end of it all, they still can't explain what the plan was supposed to be. Now here's where this Shedeur situation gets really interesting, because it's bigger than just one player sitting on the bench. This is about what kind of team Cleveland wants to be and what kind of culture they're building. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another draft pick. The kid brings attention everywhere he goes, not because he's causing problems or getting in trouble, just because of who he is and how he plays the game. He's got confidence that borders on arrogance, style that makes highlight reels, and a last name that carries weight whether you want it to to or not. And Kevin Stefanski, from everything we're seeing, wants no part of that. He wants his system guys, his quiet, do your job, don't make waves type players. The kind of quarterback who's going to study film until 2 a.m. and never say anything controversial. That's fine in theory, except when your system quarterback is getting destroyed every Sunday and you've got someone on the bench who might actually give your team a spark. The Steelers game was the perfect example. Gabriel threw the ball 52 times because the Browns abandoned the run completely. You know what Stefanski said about that after the game? Obviously, today we weren't able to run the ball effectively. We got behind there in the second half. 0 for 3 in the red zone. Just listing facts like he's reading off a grocery list. No accountability, no suggestion that maybe the game plan was flawed from the start. Just observations about what went wrong with no plan for how to fix it. Compare that to how Jeudy answered his question. There's frustration there, sure, but there's also honesty. He's not hiding behind coach speak or pretending everything's fine when it obviously isn't. And that contrast between player honesty and coaching deflection, that's where you start to see the cracks in the foundation. This isn't about whether Shedeur Sanders is ready to start in the NFL. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. That's not really the point. The point is that when you've got a young quarterback with legitimate talent sitting on your bench, and your current starter is struggling badly, and you won't even acknowledge the backup's existence in press conferences, that sends a message. And that message is that the coach's ego is more important than giving the team the best chance to win. Think about it from Shedeur's perspective for a minute. You get drafted by Cleveland, which already isn't exactly a dream destination for most players. You watch the coaching staff cycle through veteran quarterbacks all preseason. You see Flacco get traded, Pickett get traded, and suddenly you're second on the depth chart whether anyone wants to admit it or not. And through all of this, your head coach refuses to even say your name in public. How is that supposed to make you feel? How is that supposed to make any young player feel? The speculation around the league is that Stefanski feels threatened by Shedeur, not as a player necessarily, but as a presence. Because if Shedeur gets in the game and succeeds, suddenly there's going to be pressure to make him the starter. And if he becomes the starter and keeps succeeding, people are going to start asking why it took so long. And maybe, just maybe, they'll start wondering if having Deion Sanders' son as your franchise quarterback means Deion himself starts having more influence in Cleveland. And for a coach like Stefanski, who's already facing criticism for his decisions, that kind of pressure is probably terrifying. But here's the thing about trying to keep someone in the shadows, it never works. The more you try to suppress something, the more attention it gets. Every time Stefanski refuses to acknowledge Shedeur, it just makes people talk about him more. Every press conference where he won't answer questions about the backup quarterback situation just generates more headlines. He's created this whole controversy by trying to avoid controversy in the first place. Jerry Jeudy sees all this. The whole locker room sees it. And when a reporter asks him about whether those quarterback reps were wasted, he gives the most diplomatic non-answer possible, because what else can he say? He can't throw his coaches under the bus directly. He can't demand they play Shedeur without causing a major incident. So he says, I don't know what that was, and lets everyone else connect the dots. The frustrating part for Browns fans has to be watching this play out in real time. Your team is 1-4. Your offense looks completely lost. Your quarterback is getting pressured on every play because the offensive line can't protect and the play calling is predictable. And sitting on your bench is one of the most talked about young quarterbacks in football. Someone who could at least provide a different look, a different energy, maybe even a spark. But your coach won't play him because of reasons that nobody can quite articulate. This is where Stefanski's whole approach starts to fall apart. He keeps talking about trusting the process, about staying the course, about how they just need to execute better. But at some point, when the results aren't there week after week, you have to question whether the process is actually working. You have to wonder if staying the course is just another way of saying you're too stubborn to try something different. Look at what happened after the Steelers game. Stefanski stands at that podium, and when asked about the offense, he lists everything that went wrong. Can't run the ball efficiently, can't score in the red zone, can't protect the quarterback. It's like listening to someone describe a car that won't start, won't shift gears, and has 4 flat tires, and then concluding that they just need to drive it more carefully. At some point, you've got to try a different car. And the national media is picking up on all this now. It's not just Cleveland beat writers asking questions. It's ESPN, it's FS1, it's every major football outlet running stories about the Browns quarterback situation and why Shedeur Sanders can't get on the field. Some people think it's great for attention, that having the Browns in headlines is better than being irrelevant. Others see it as a distraction that's keeping the team from focusing on football, but everyone agrees that the situation has gotten weird, and it's only getting weirder. What Jerry Jeudy did with that one answer was pull back the curtain just enough to show that the players aren't buying what the coaching staff is selling. They watched the 4-quarterback experiment. They saw how it played out, and when given the chance to defend it or explain it, Jeudy couldn't do either. That's not because he's disloyal or because he's trying to cause problems. It's because sometimes there's no good explanation for decisions that don't make sense. The question now becomes, what happens next? Does Stefanski double down on Dillon Gabriel and ride with him no matter what, even if the losses keep piling up? Does he eventually give Shedeur a chance, either because the situation gets desperate enough or because pressure from above forces his hand? Or does this whole thing drag out for the rest of the season, with Shedeur sitting on the bench while the Browns stumble to another losing record? Based on everything Stefanski said after the Steelers game, it sounds like he's planning to stick with Gabriel. He's confident in his guy. He believes they can fix the issues. He's not looking for a change, which means unless something dramatic happens, unless Gabriel gets hurt or the Browns lose so badly that ownership intervenes, Shedeur is probably going to spend the season watching from the sideline. And maybe that's fine. Maybe Gabriel really is the better option right now. Maybe the coaching staff knows something we don't. Maybe Shedeur needs more time to develop and learn the system. All of that's possible, but when your own players are giving answers like Jerry Jeudy gave, when they're struggling to explain or defend the team's quarterback plan, that's a sign something isn't connecting between the coaching staff and the locker room. The other factor in all this is the Browns' organizational structure. Jimmy Haslam owns the team, and by most accounts, he loves the attention that comes with having Shedeur Sanders on the roster. He's not afraid of big personalities or media coverage. Some have even called him Jerry Jones Jr. because of how much he enjoys having people talk about his team. So there's this interesting dynamic where the owner might actually want Shedeur to play. The fans definitely want to see what he can do, and the only person who seems dead set against it is the head coach. That creates tension, not necessarily conflict, at least not yet, but tension, because if the losses keep mounting and the offense keeps struggling, Haslam might start asking harder questions about why they're not trying their second-round pick, and Stefanski's going to have better answers than "I'm confident in my guy, and we just need to execute better." Those answers work for a week or two, maybe even a month, but 5 weeks in, sitting at 1-4 with no signs of improvement, they start to sound hollow. The challenge for Stefanski is that he's painted himself into a corner. He's committed so publicly to Gabriel, he's been so adamant about his quarterback decision, that changing course now would look like an admission that he was wrong. And for a coach whose job might already be on shaky ground, admitting you were wrong about your most important position is basically writing your own pink slip, so he's stuck. He almost has to ride with Gabriel at this point, even if privately he knows it might not be working, because switching now would undermine everything he's said for the past month. But that's the trap of stubbornness disguised as conviction. Real leadership means being able to adjust when things aren't working, being willing to admit that maybe the original plan needs to change, having the courage to try something different even if it means acknowledging your first choice didn't work out. And right now, Stefanski isn't showing any of that flexibility. He's dug in, and he's determined to prove he was right, even if it costs the Browns more games in the process. Jerry Jeudy's comments are going to echo through the rest of the season now. Every time the Browns lose, every time the offense struggles, someone's gonna bring up what he said about not knowing what the quarterback plan was. Every press conference, someone's gonna ask Stefanski about Shedeur. Every post-game interview, players are going to get questions about whether they think a change is needed. The story isn't going away. If anything, it's just getting started. And somewhere in all this chaos, Shedeur Sanders is just waiting, preparing, watching. Maybe he's frustrated, maybe he's patient, maybe he's somewhere in between, but he knows his time will come eventually, whether it's this season or next, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else. Guys with his talent and his profile don't stay buried forever. The league has a way of finding its stars, even when coaches try to keep them hidden. So yeah, we're 1-4 and everyone's frustrated. The quarterback situation is a mess. The coaching staff seems disconnected from reality, and one of the team's best players just told us he has no idea what the plan was supposed to be. Welcome to Cleveland Browns football, where nothing ever goes smoothly and every season finds a new way to test your patience. The only question left is how long this particular drama is going to play out before something finally breaks.